Do PC owners think it's really possible to have both performance and battery life? This time AOKZOE A1X trying to solve this problem with AMD X370 latest core display and 72.7W battery. But how is its actual performance? Will heat dissipation cause overturning? Is wind noise acceptable? How big is the gap between game frames and battery life under low, medium and high power consumption? How much does the original sound horizontal screen improve the experience? What is the difference between capacitive sensing joysticks? So in this video we will test it to the end. First of all, take a look at the appearance. The main body of the phone is pure black, and the surface is made of relatively fine matte material. Both sides of the fuselage are equipped with RGB ambient lights. The bottom and top are printed with technological lines. The left and right borders of the screen are narrow. The upper and lower widths are different. Screen-to-body ratio is pretty good overall. The handle on the back has a more obvious bulge. There is a radiator air vent on the left side. There is a bracket below. However, the adjustable angle is not particularly large. Configuration. The handheld machine is equipped with AMD X370 processor, 72.7Wh micron memory, ONET SSD. Reading and writing speeds are as follows. The network card uses Intel's AOKZOE. Under this configuration, the 15 power consumption times SPI graphics card scored 2,858 points. 30 power consumption 3,472 points. After reading the benchmarks, it's time to take a look at the actual frame rate performance of the game. This time we also compared several other PC handheld consoles. In benchmark test, Cyberpunk 2000, 77.15 1000, AOKZOE Steamdeck quality, AX 36 frames, No 1 2 Pro 8000, 840 33.9 frames, ZE Extreme 30.6 frames. Under 28 power consumption, the performance of these handheld consoles has increased by more than 30%. AX 47 frames, No 1 45.7 frames, Z Extreme 42.7 frames. If you adjust the game resolution to 720, at this time, the frame number of AX can reach 67 frames. In terms of battery life, the handheld device is equipped with a 72.7W battery. First, let's take a look at the frame rate and battery life of the game under low power consumption. Hardy 42.6W TDP. The frame rate is basically stable at 60 frames. Peripheral power consumption is 5 watts. Total power consumption 11 watts. Battery life is approximately 6 hours and 30 minutes. In Enjoying War, 3W TDP can run to 60 frames. Peripheral power consumption 4 watts. The total power consumption at this time is 7 watts. Approximately 10 hours and 20 minutes of playtime. So do you think this battery life level is comparable to that of the Steam Deck? Frame 3 Mizu Origins, 1000, AOKZOE low quality, 12W TDP. The frame rate is 3340 frames. Peripheral power consumption is 9 watts. Total power consumption 21 watts. Lasts about 3.5 hours. If you change the resolution to 720, the frame rate has reached around 45 frames. Much smoother than before. It should be noted that, on a high-resolution screen, the game screen will look a bit blurry, but if you don't mind the picture quality, players can turn on AM's sharpening feature. To a certain extent, it can solve the problem of blurry images. In our regular game testing, Ring of Elden 1000, AOKZOE medium quality, 12W TTP. The frame rate is around 33 frames. Peripheral power consumption is 9 watts. Total consumption 21 watts. Battery life 3.5 hours. If you adjust the resolution to 800-bit this time, the game can run to about 42 frames. The game fluency is pretty good at this point, but this resolution still doesn't look particularly clear. Okay, let's take a look. These 3 games have slightly higher performance requirements. Ninja Dragon 2 Remake, 15W TTP. The frame rate is around 45 frames. Peripheral power consumption is 10 watts. Total power consumption 25 watts. Game battery life is about 2 hours and 50 minutes. Although the number of frames is more than 40, but because the frame process is turned on, therefore, there is a sense of delay in the operation of action games. There will still be some. After increasing power consumption to 30 watts, the game has reached around 65 frames. The frame rate at this time is increased by about 50%. Peripheral power consumption is 13 watts. Total power consumption 43 watts. Theoretical battery life, 1 hour and 42 minutes. The following is a performance test of a conventional game. God of War 4, 1000, AOKZOE medium quality, 10W TTP. The start point of the level. The number of frames in the initial perspective is about 43 frames. This is a frame rate comparison with other handheld consoles. The game's Battle Planet, 15W TTP can run around 43 frames. Peripheral power consumption 11 watts. Total power consumption 26 watts. Battery life 2 hours 45 minutes. After increasing TTP to 28 watts, the frame rate at the checkpoint reached 48 frames. Here we compare again. Game frames on 3 handheld consoles. Battle Planet 28W TTP. The frame rate is around 50 frames. Peripheral power consumption is 15 watts. Total power consumption 43 watts. Battery life 1 hour 42 minutes. Next, Black Myth Wukong's routine test. Game quality is shown in the picture. 15W frame rate is around 50 frames. Peripheral power consumption 11. Total power consumption 26. Game life 2 hours and 48 minutes. After increasing power consumption to 30, the game can run around 70 frames. Frame rate increased by approximately 40%. Peripheral power consumption 15W. Total power consumption 40W. The battery life at this time is about 1 hour and 36 minutes. The following is a test without graphics card. The connection is graphics card No. 1 and machine No. 2, equipped with 7800 graphics card. Under the same settings and scenarios, the frame rate improvement of the game is still very obvious. Came to between 100 and 115 frames. The frame rate is increased from about 40 frames to 40 frames before. But if we feel that more than 100 frames does not mean much, then you can also change the image quality preset to the highest film and television level to get a better game picture. The light and shadow effect at this time will be very prominent. Game frame rate is around 50 frames. Finished the letter. Let's take a look at its heat dissipation and noise performance next. The power consumption in the front end is set to 30 watts. Fan is in automatic mode at current room temperature. FBU and donut baking machine after 18 minutes. The maximum temperature of the fuselage reached 48 degrees, mainly concentrated in the corner areas of the screen. The temperature in the handle area is controlled at around 29 degrees. Very comfortable to hold. The fan noise at this time is 45 decibels. You can still hear some fan noise in a quiet environment, but when the game sound is turned on or outdoors, this perception is not so obvious. In terms of screen, the AOKZ uses an 8-inch 16:9 screen, native landscape screen. Screen resolution is 1200, maximum refresh rate 120. Support VR variable refresh. The measured maximum brightness is around 450 nits. 4-day volume threat 375.8%. sRGB 107.1%. Okay, let's take a look at what the native horizontal screen is used for. First of all, when opening some Lausanne games, for example, Wilderness 2, native horizontal screen can be directly displayed in full screen. But if the screen fails, the screen will become like this. Of course, we can also do it through settings. But for ordinary players, there will be a certain learning cost. There are 2 stereo speakers just below the fuselage. The official mass-produced machine has undergone certain upgrades. Because my machine is an engineering machine, I won't give too many demonstrations here. There is a power button on the top of the interface. Volume key headphone jack. Then there is USB4 port C and in a port. The fine frequency charging power of C port is 66. At the bottom are the USB4 interfaces. OQ-Link interface. TF card slot. It is worth noting that the USB4 interface has been adjusted. No now goes in. In terms of function keys, there are double S keys on both sides of the screen. The lower left corner is the desktop return key. On the lower right are shortcut keyboard keys. Front key. Support various commonly used function adjustments. For example, running performance, fan mode, vibration, etc. It is worth noting that this time, a bypass power supply function has also been added to the front section. Then when you plug in the phone and play games at the same time, can protect our battery to a certain extent. Handle layout. It adopts a diagonal staggered layout. Comply with certain ergonomics. Thumbs can easily organize our joysticks and buttons when held. But if we can stagger it a little further, your thumb will be just above the joystick. Of course, if you do this, the size of the whole machine may become larger. The rocker uses a medium-sized capacitive induction rocker. The arc of the circle is slightly smaller than that of the host handle. There will still be a very small dead zone at the center point during testing. However, this time the joystick did not find any cross-adsorption. This is for players who have precise design and control requirements. It's relatively friendly. Okay, let's take a look at the performance of the capacitive sensing rocker in actual combat. Okay. The accuracy is still good. We just said that it will have a little dead zone. But in fact, you won't feel it is particularly obvious during actual combat, or you can barely feel it. Let's take a look and give it a little more force. You will notice that the camera is moving, right? That is to say, in this case, we can basically implement a very subtle operation. So if you prefer to play games with this design, so this capacitive sensing rocker, it will be easier for this kind of micro operation. The cross-direction keys are conductive glue. However, due to the engineering level relationship, not the final solution. AOKZOE also uses conductive glue when inserting foreign keys. Moderate key travel. Trigger faster. Button size is 8-point form. Bigger than Joy-Con, a little smaller than ROGs. The micro motion line has been upgraded and improved. You can press it during the whole process. In addition, the trigger has also been upgraded to a Hall trigger. No abnormal sound when pressed. It's also very linear. However, you need to use a little force at the end of the key to fully pull it. In terms of weight, the whole machine comes to 732 grams, 92 grams heavier than Steam OLED, 29 grams heavier than the ROGs with motorcycle. The stretching sensation is quite obvious after holding it for a long time. However, due to the deeper grip of the fuselage, closer to Steamdeck, very full feeling to hold. Comfort is pretty good. Finally, Mike talks about his personal subjective views on this handheld console. First of all, in terms of weight and interface, the handheld machine, it feels like it can be further optimized. It would be more convenient if the OQ-Link interface is placed on the top of the handheld device. But in general, AOKZOE A1X It is a powerful Win handheld machine. X370 processor, capable of 1008 at medium quality. Smoothly run current mainstream 3A games. Support native horizontal screen for VR. It can also improve a certain degree of visual fluency. Meanwhile, 72.7 watt-hours of battery life. It can be regarded as the first echelon of ZOE at present. The progress in rocker adjustment is also very obvious. Like a capacitive rocker, can provide a more precise control experience. Finally, I hope Oak will play steadily. Do a good job in quality control of this handheld machine. Okay, that's it for this video sharing. So what do you think of the performance of AOKZOE AEX? Welcome to leave a message in the comment area. I am Nimlight. Then we'll see you in the next handheld review. If you are interested, you can pay attention. See you next time.